YouTube! Welcome to Fred's Full Throttle. This week, I'm getting back into some Corvette content that I know many of you have been missing. First off, I'm going to cover today pulling my car from hibernation, and it was the first cold start of the C7 Grand Sport for 2023. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the Z06 allocation situation. From there, we're going to head over and talk about the E-Ray, and specifically the drag race that Haggerty performed, and the outright performance from that car. Lastly, I have some big 24 Hours of Lemons race car build updates. Let's dive right in. Here we are, late March in New England, and we have the annual What Season Is It competition. I can tell you in the last 10 days that we've gotten 13 inches of snow, had 60-degree days, strong enough wind to knock out our power several times, and down tree limbs all over the place, rain, fog, sleet, and of course snow. Just yesterday was whiteout snowing for an hour, but the day before it was 62 and sunny. With all of that, how is one supposed to know what season it is? This is a bit of a normal rite of passage here in New England. How do you dress to go outside? Do you put the snow shovel and snowblower away? Anyway, one of my favorite parts of this is when I can finally break the seal on the garage door and start up the Corvette for the first time of the year. Earlier today was just such a day. One of the very first times I've done it in March, no less. While I don't need to get into all the details for this video, I'll post a link in the description to a video I did a while ago on how I winterize my C7. It's not many steps, it's easy to do, and is according to Chevy's best practices. The good news is that to emerge from winterization is equally easy as it is to winterize. Basically, uncover the car, pull the battery tender off, and start it up. In a moment, I'll share some of that footage of the first cold start, complete with some revs once it was warmed up, as well as a walk around of that gorgeous Emerald Blue metallic paint. But first, a few of the observations I had. Pulling the cover off the car, the paint was gleaming. If you haven't seen Emerald Blue metallic in person, you're missing out. Next, sitting in the car, I still get that new car, or in the C7's case, industrial adhesive smell. It's become familiar to me, and it always evokes memories of all the fun that I've had in the car. The car started right up first try. No fiddling, no cranking, no drama. I've recently crossed 6 years of ownership of the car since new, and I've never had any serious issues with it. I love the simple no-fuss ownership experience that the car has given me. Starting out this season, the car is at exactly 17,250 miles. Also, when I started the car, the gas tank was at 1/16 of a tank. The light wasn't on, but this was intentional. Run the tank as low as possible in the fall, and then the first startup, go and get some fresh gas. I took a short drive to get gas today, and I gotta say I absolutely love everything about this car. I'm pretty sure that this is gonna be a lifetime car for me. It's that good. So without further ado, let's get to the footage. I'm so excited for this year's driving season, and I'm excited that in a few short weeks, I'm going to actually be able to take the car out for real. Alright, back to the C8 Z06. It's been a minute since I've done much coverage here. As many of my longtime viewers most likely have noticed, I've started diversifying my content, doing more different topics, and branching away from as much C8 coverage as I had before. So why the change? To put it simply, with the car being out now, there's just simply less noteworthy stories about the car. Also, being so far back in line to get my own, I haven't yet had the opportunity to drive or ride in one, and so I don't want to waste any of my viewers' time. That said, as I find information that I find newsworthy, I'll be covering it. Also, hopefully this spring or summer, I've had a few very generous individuals offer to let me ride in or drive their Z06's, and I'm hoping to put a few of those experiences on the books so I can share my first-hand experience, my thoughts, my impressions, and some of the seat time in POV with the car. To any of you out there who do have a Z06 or maybe getting theirs this year, if you're potentially interested in coordinating with me for a video or two, please email me and let me know. I've had a handful of people reach out already, and I figure once the weather's a little bit warmer, I'm going to start reaching out to those who have. Huge thanks to those that have offered. But I digress. Back to the Z06. The news today is around the still limited allocations and constraints on the car. To be honest, I don't follow the news super closely. I recommend following Mid-Engine Corvette Forum and Corvette Blogger to stay current on all the latest news. But recently I've seen a few headlines that caught my eye. Among them are headlines about 0 allocations for the Z06 across the entire US for the end of March, and separately, multiple stories of recent allocations being constrained on the Z07 package. For those that aren't familiar with the process, a constraint for an option or package on a new car order means that the car is available, but those options are constrained, meaning they're not available. This can put you in the strange situation of being able to order the car, but not with the options that you perhaps consider to be must-haves. I've read an unfortunately high number of threads in the forums started by buyers who get that dream phone call from the dealer saying, "Hey, your number is up, you can order your car, time to pick out your options." But then that joy and elation quickly turns a little bit sour if a much desired option is unavailable. Constraints are a way for a manufacturer to keep production moving without needing every component available. I remember back when I was preparing to order my C7, one of the constraints I was most worried about was the manual transmission. As explained by McMulkin, if I wanted to custom order my car, but that option was constrained, I wouldn't have been able to. Now, from what I've heard with the C8 Z06, many dealerships are trying to juggle things to make their buyers as happy as they can when this happens. For example, many are giving the buyer who wants a constrained option the opportunity to bump to the next allocation, whenever that will be, and let someone else place the order for this constrained car. This feels like the best option, shy of somehow getting GM to stop needing the constrained options. The problem here, though, is that with the trickle of allocations so far for the Z06, bumping your spot to the next allocation is a little bit of a gamble, especially in regards to when you might get the car. There's nothing that guarantees that the next allocation won't also have that option constrained. Or maybe Z07 comes back, but then some other option like nose lift or a certain color of wheels are now constrained. Then, what if you're at a dealership that doesn't get as many allocations, such as a smaller dealer? You could conceivably see months, half a year, or even more of a delay if you're waiting for just the right combination of available options. And, not to sound like a pessimist, but there is a chance that there may never be that perfect time to get an allocation where you can get every option that you want. This is forcing some people to make hard cuts in order to get their car, dropping one option here, changing a choice there. The one little bit of good news from this, at least in my mind, is that the car is so sublime by all accounts that I don't really think anyone will dislike the car once they have it just because they couldn't get one option or another. I really believe that, even if it is a bigger option. I did say trickle of allocations. Let me quantify that a bit. McMulkin, as you may know, is the largest Corvette dealer in the country currently, somewhat recently taking that title from C8. This specifically means that they sell more new Corvettes than any other dealership in the US. McMulkin is where I have my Z06 reservation. When I reserved in October of 2021, just after the car was unveiled, I was roughly 1,200 in line. Since then, in 16 months, I've moved 92 spots up in line, meaning that McMulkin has only fulfilled 92 allocations, minus anyone who has canceled their reservation. So I've moved roughly 1/12 of the way up in line. Now keep in mind that the car didn't actually become available until late summer of last year, so only about 8 of those 16 months were times where allocations could be fulfilled. Still, that works out to only about 12 cars a month at the largest dealership in the country. Hopefully, GM will be able to fulfill demand faster this coming year and start burning down through these lists, because there are a lot of people eager to finally see what all the hype has been about. Come on, GM, we're pulling for you. Up next, I wanted to talk for a moment about a video that Haggerty just released about a drag race they performed between the E-Ray, a Ferrari F8 Tributo, and a Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider. Besides just a great opportunity to watch the fantastic Jason Camisa talk about cars, which is always a good time, this video gives us a great opportunity to see some direct competition with the E-Ray. I've linked the video in the description below, so if you haven't seen it, I suggest going and checking it out. But here are the cliff notes. The E-Ray demolishes both cars with a 10.4 second quarter mile at 129 miles an hour after ripping off a 2.4 second 0 to 60 on unprepared pavement. Perhaps even more impressive is that off the start, the E-Ray opens a 3-car length lead in just over 100 feet. This is hardly a surprise, to be honest. The F8 is a rear-wheel drive car. Despite being lighter and more powerful than the E-Ray, the benefits of all-wheel drive more than make up for that deficit on paper, and the E-Ray does take the win. However, there's an interesting note in the details here. The F8 did the same time in 10.6 at 137 miles an hour after a 0 to 60 of 2.7 seconds as a rear-wheel drive car. Remember back when the McLaren 720S came out and everyone was gobsmacked at how fast it accelerated, especially as a rear-wheel drive car? The F8 is faster. On top of this, look at the trap speed for the Ferrari, 137. The F8 was gaining quickly on the E-Ray, and were you to race beyond a quarter mile, before you crossed the half-mile mark, the E-Ray would not have been in the lead. This also isn't surprising, since the electric motors in the E-Ray taper off as that speed increases. But it's amazing that a car barely over 100K can put down such impressive numbers. I think a lot of people are going to find the E-Ray to be the Corvette to have, especially once they start showing up in people's hands. Exciting stuff. And to close out, I wanted to give another update to our 24 Hours of Lemons race car build. For those who may have been just tuning in, myself and 3 friends are building a race car for the 24 Hours of Lemons from a 2001 manual BMW 330 Ci. Since the last video, we cut off the stock exhaust, removed the heat shield under the car, and dropped and removed the rear subframe, differential, suspension, and entire rear drivetrain assembly. It's been incredibly rewarding, fun, and informative to be doing all this stuff for the first time, for all of us. We've also started pulling bushings for the subframe, grinding out the anti-rust coating on the bottom, and to prepare the car for welding in the subframe reinforcements that we'd previously mentioned. We also removed all 4 brake calipers, which will be sent off for rust removal and refinishing. And we're starting to prep for the arrival of our roll cage, which is currently in production with cagekits.org. And we've finally run into our first few real Lemons experiences. For one, we're having a heck of a time removing the subframe bushings. Also, we sheared a bolt that holds the front passenger brake rotor on the car, welded onto it a sacrificial bolt twice, only to snap that off, and we're now at the stage where you have to tap and extract it. And the bolts on the exhaust were so rusted that that's why we had to cut off the exhaust. Now, no one said this stuff was going to be easy, and it's actually been really fun to start running into technical challenges that we have to figure out and solve, especially since most of them means new tools to buy. And I think that's always a good thing. Next week, we're going to have to remove the gas tank in order to get access to finish the grinding and hopefully get the subframe welding done. It's starting to get really exciting, so look for more updates in my next video. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, Fred out!